Is there anything in the Bible that you yourself have an issue with? Okay, so it took you reading the Bible to realize that those things were bad for you?
Yeah, it actually did. I
Couldn't
didn't
figure this out on your own?
No, Ted Bundy could be redeemed. God doesn't kill children.
What do you think the Passover was? Yahweh sets up a whole system in the Old Testament where you slaughter animals just so he's able to forgive you.
Today's special guest is an author, and she's running for Republican Representative of Arizona District 7, Barby Ingles. Welcome to the show, Barby.
Thank you so much, Mike. I'm glad to be here with you.
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for taking the time. So what does a representative of Arizona District 7 do?
Well, I will be representing the people of my district, which is quite large. It's 4 counties large. If you're familiar with Arizona, it goes from Flagstaff at the top all the way down to Florence, and then east to Oracle, and then back up through Navajo. So it is gigantic. It's a very large district, and I will be representing the diverse voices of all of LD7 if I am chosen.
Nice. That's a big area. So
yes.
Why do you want to be representative of that area?
I've been working on legislation since 2009 due to my own health challenges and issues that I've been through. And I have worked on over 100 bills. I've worked on bills in 36 states, also federally and with the Department of Defense to get care for our veterans. And I have written 7 bills, 2 are now law. And some of the Republican leadership here in Pinal County, which is the county I live in, asked me to run. I actually had been asked a few years ago by a senator, and I said, no, I'm good where I am. I'm not gonna go there. But about 2 years ago, I felt like God was calling me to do something different and more. And I had been running a nonprofit charity for 10 years, and I felt like it was time to do something. And I stepped down, and I went into continual prayer about what to do and where I should be. And when I was asked this time, it was by local leadership, and I felt like this was the thing that God was calling me to do.
Huh. Why did you feel it was the thing that, thank you for that. Why did you feel it was the thing that God called you to do? Because you prayed beforehand and then somebody asked you again, or was it a voice or TV, skywritten? I don't know.
No skywriting. I felt like God was calling me to do something more, and so I thought I was listening and paying attention. And he doesn't talk so clear, he doesn't say, Barby, this is what you do. But I found through my health challenges that God gives you pebbles, and if you don't pay attention to the pebbles, he starts throwing rocks, and if you don't pay attention to the rocks, he starts throwing boulders. And so I went from being top of my game, collegiate coach, owning my own cheer and dance training company, to down to the bottom, losing everything, being on food stamps, and I had to rebuild a life. So I started to notice that these patterns were happening in life, and seeing the pebbles and the rocks and the boulders. I thought on my own, I thought God was telling me to run for local office, like represent my community. And since I was a little girl, I always said, I'm going to be a mayor someday. And it's something I just knew. And I moved to this new town, and we have a mayor in our town. And I was like, well, this is really awesome. Well, maybe I'll do city council or boards and commissions or something first, get my feet wet, because I've never done anything like this before. I've worked on legislation, but I haven't been the actual person to pass something. And I didn't make it because I live 3 houses outside of the actual city proper.
The limit for it.
The limit.
Yeah.
Yes, 3 houses away. But when we were sold the house, I took that as a rock. And that wasn't what I was supposed to do. And then I was speaking at a health conference, and the governor's health aide was there, and she said, you should run for boards and commissions for the state. And I put in my application and things were just swimming along. And then all of a sudden they found out that I was the opposite party as our state governor. And all of a sudden everything came to a grinding halt, and that wasn't what I was supposed to do. So I had been in prayer and it's like, okay, well, God, I thought you were leading me down this path and I was following your pebbles and your rocks, but that wasn't what I was supposed to do. And November 11th, 2023, one of our local leaders saw me out at a local community event parade. And then there was like a little fair afterwards. And she came up and said, look, you've been working on legislation for a long time, and I think you would be a great leader for our community. And I said, let me pray about it. Let me talk to my husband and my family and see where I feel like I'm being led. And this is where I am now.
Interesting. So the prayer thing is very interesting to me. We'll get there too.
Okay.
But the open doors, do you feel that God opened the door and then closed the door, or when you got into there and you were the wrong party? What do you think happened in that situation?
I think it was a life lesson that I needed to learn for something in my future. And that's how, like I said, I had everything that I'd ever worked for. And I lost it all in an 8-second car accident, developed a rare disease, was bedbound and wheelchair bound for 8 years. I went through a near-death experience. And in that near-death experience, I saw my life flash before me. It was like 1,000 pictures and 1,000 words for every picture, like instantly. My lung collapsed. It was laying on my heart. I went into emergency surgery. I woke up and I was like, heaven is not very pretty. But I'd actually survived, and I was still here on earth. And I knew that I knew I needed to be doing something. And so I saw my life purpose. And I saw, when I was 4 years old, I told my dad, I saw cheerleaders. You don't think of God when you see cheerleaders, usually. But at 4 years old, I looked down and I saw these cheerleaders commanding the crowd, and they could point and they were doing the wave and we were yelling all these words. And I looked at my dad and I said, I'm going to be a cheerleader when I grow up. And he was like, okay. He wasn't going to say no at that point, but he was also going to teach me that there was more things to do and be in life. And then when I was about 12, I reaffirmed, I'm going to be a cheerleader the rest of my life. And he said, no, you're not. And then I was going into college, and I grew up with a learning disability. I had to go to special classes and get special education and to learn how to learn my way. And when I was graduating high school, he's like, well, you need to apply to college. And I was like, well, I don't really want to go to college. Oh, I'll go to college and be a cheerleader. And he said, yeah, that's not practical. You can't I was going to get a degree in dance. He said, no, you need to pick a real degree. So I chose social psychology, and went through, from 4 until graduating college. I was involved in cheerleading, started my own cheer and dance training company a week after college. But my dad said, you can't do this for a living. And I kept saying, this is what God wants me to do. And I graduated college and I opened up my own company a week later. And I just always knew that was my purpose. Everybody on earth doesn't know what their purpose is, but I knew mine was to be a cheerleader. And
you gave yourself that purpose. You wanted it. Obviously you wanted it at some level. And then you gave yourself that purpose and you did it. Like,
I did it. I worked hard.
Company. That's a thing.
It's a thing. It's a very financially beneficial thing. But it also teaches you a lot of life lessons and skills like responsibility and time management and being part of a team and getting things to move forward with synergy instead of your own action. You can do something with your own action, but you can only get so far when you work as a team. You can
good jobs will teach you that. Good leaders will definitely teach you that.
Exactly.
100%. Yeah.
Exactly. And I was on competitive teams that we were winners. So we all worked together and we all worked hard.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And then 8 seconds.
So where was God in that though? Where was God in that situation? Was that a door he opened up? Was that a pebble he was throwing, or was that you throwing your own pebbles?
I think that it was his plan for me, but how I accomplish it is my choice. God gave us free will.
So God's plan was the cheerleader.
God's plan was to make me a cheerleader.
Gotcha.
And
so I thought,
I thought
Hard
it was
work.
supposed to be a physical cheerleader.
Yeah.
And in the
It's-
process, he was throwing all these pebbles of responsibility and time management and being a good person and showing up and doing my part.
Growing up, being an adult.
Growing up,
Good job.
being
You're
a
learning
good-
to be an
being a
adult.
good adult. Yes, that was. And then all of a sudden, my life changed, and the doctor said, "You'll never dance again.
Hmm.
You might
Oh,
never
that's
walk
the song.
again.
I'm never gonna dance.
Dance again." Yep. and
Sorry.
I called my dad, and he said you can still dance. You can dance in your heart.
Ah,
And I was like, that's such a dad thing to say, but
yeah.
it's true, it is true. And so I went through this near-death experience, and it taught me and showed me
Right.
that
So
I will be a cheerleader for the rest of my life. That is my life purpose. But instead of being a physical cheerleader that's performing, cheerleading is actually going to be mental, and it's going to take on a different form, but yet I will still be a cheerleader. So I became a mental cheerleader instead of a physical cheerleader.
you're a cheerleader for other people, or how to explain that?
Yeah, but you're always a cheerleader is for other people. It's for the team. My dad would say, "How are
True.
you smiling when your team is losing 50-0?" The football team, not the cheerleaders. And and I would say, hope.
Yeah,
And that's the same thing with my faith. How do I know it's going to be okay, even if I'm in a crappy, very bad, shitty situation? It's because I have hope. And even in my worst of times, when I thought my husband's gone to an actual job, and I might laying here, I might die before he comes home, and I don't want him to come home and find me dead, but that might be the reality. Having hope, and even the smallest glimmer of hope, could get me through, and the prayers could get me through, and it kept me going in the worst of times. And in the best of times, it's just icing on the cake.
Well, I want to get back to that car crash. I also want to get back to prayer. A lot of things I want to go to here, but the car crash. Explain to me what happened as far as what caused it. Do you think? Again, was it a pebble? Was it your own direction and God correcting your direction? Was it a lesson? How does that work? Or was it Satan? I mean, lots of options.
It could be Satan. I think though it was, for me, it was a life lesson, and I wasn't a bad person. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I say cuss words, but I also believe different, and than other religious people that are around me, that I don't take the Lord's name in vain. I believe that's cussing, but I believe a word is what you attribute to it. So, I think a little bit differently,
mostly
in that way. But getting in the car accident literally changed the trajectory of my life, and I was taking life for granted. And this was a boulder. This was, you didn't pay attention to the pebbles. You didn't pay attention to the rocks. Here's a boulder. Now you have to figure out how to go over, under, through, around, whatever it is, to continue forward in life. And that's what life is, moving forward and continuing to do and be the best you can be, individually and as a humanity.
So just so we're clear, I just want to make sure I'm understanding. God threw the rock in front of the car, or whatever it was.
The boulder. It was a van into my car.
So God threw the van into your car.
I mean, yeah, I think that it's something that happened to put me on a new trajectory of life, because I was taking life for granted. I wasn't living to my purpose.
That's a thing. It's a hell of a thing. A lesson there. I don't.
And going through all the steps of that, I would see in the moment, it's not about why did you do this? Why did God do this? Or why did Satan do this? Or what is happening? Because sometimes, God has stepped back, and Satan is able to get into our lives and let us, we have free will. We have a choice. Do you go this way or do you go that way?
But we gotta step back and look at the life lesson. I want to step back and look at the situation. As a father, you have kids? I
don't. I'm unable to have children. I have 7 nephews and a niece.
Oh, good. Oh, well, at least you got them around, so you understand a little bit.
Yes.
But as a father, if my kids are going in the wrong direction, I mean, there's extremes, and then there's causing a car accident. I think I don't know. My parenting style, I guess, is a little bit different than God's. And he's an all-powerful being. I mean, he
Exactly.
can. Do you think there's a better way to teach somebody a lesson than
I
a car
think that
crash?
I think that even out the worst situation, like for me, I would say like rape or abuse, incest especially. You
Oof.
could have a human created out of the worst situation.
Mm.
That's a miracle and a really bad way to have that miracle happen, but there's a purpose and a reason for that. And that human that comes from that horrible situation or changes their life because of the situation they went through can actually end up doing something better for the future, for humanity, for society.
Oh,
So
Barbie, though,
out of bad
Barbie,
can
there's
come
got to be
good.
a better way. I mean, God's all loving, God's
Yes,
all knowing, God's all powerful. There has to be a better way, and it's so grotesque and disgusting to say that these things are because they're going to learn a future lesson. Yeah, they're going to learn a future lesson, not to be around
no,
those
it could
kinds
be
of
something
people,
for
you know? I
society's
mean,
future.
oh, that's just, it hurts me. It hurts me. I just,
I understand.
oh,
I
man.
understand that you're hurt by that.
Well, I mean, we can,
I have learned to
well, let me say
try to
something
pay
real quick.
attention more.
I wanna, the Bible. Do you believe the Bible to be true? It's
I
a true book and stuff.
I do believe the Bible to be true.
Uh,
Now,
s-
how I interpret it might be a little different than how the next person.
right, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure there's different things. But I mean, there are certain um punishments that God deals out. And one of those punishment is allowing your wife to be sexually assaulted. Um, you'll be pledged to be married to a woman, but another will take her and rape her. This is God in these things. I find that horrible. Like it just, again, it hurts. It just like makes me gross and stuff. So do you think
Horrible
that
thing.
this is something that God said? Do you think that this is something that God did? Is there truth in this punishment that God dealt out?
I believe that there is truth in it. And God doesn't say life's going to be easy or fair
Barbie.
or
That's, and you worship this guy though. Like that's a lot to me. Like why would you worship somebody that does something like this?
well, I think that I have blind faith.
Hmm.
I think that there's good and bad in all of us. No one's perfect. This is part of humanity and part of being on earth and part of our past, present, and future.
Hmm.
I think that when you have something good or bad in your life, it helps you see the good and the bad and where you want to go and make those choices.
Do you
So
think we can learn bad without sexual assault?
yes, and I've been sexually assaulted.
I don't.
And I've been physically assaulted in my life. So again, I don't think it was a punishment from God. I
But you
think
think it
that
was a
Satan
lesson?
also lives here on earth. It might
Satan.
not have been a lesson for me. It might have been a lesson for a family member and how they
Oof.
reacted to it.
Man,
It
Barbie,
might
I
have
am so
been a
sorry you
lesson.
went through that. I'm so sorry. Right off the bat. Yeah. I just,
It
man.
taught me to fight harder.
Yeah.
But sometimes you
Well,
can fight all you want and there's still a gun to your head and you can't
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
do
We don't have to
anything
go there. We don't
about
have to go there. Oh, you're gonna get me all. You're good.
Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. So as far as Satan,
Yeah.
you dive into that for a minute, I
I
guess.
believe that Satan is real
Yeah.
and
Where did he come from?
he came from heaven.
Who made him and why?
Well, he made himself. He had free choice and free will, just as God gave us all free choice and free will.
So he's Satan is self-created, or God created Lucifer and then Satan turned, or Lucifer turned to Satan. How do you see that?
Lucifer made choices
Gotcha. So Lucifer made
and
choices
God
in
banished
heaven
him.
to go
Mhm.
against God's rules.
Yes. Yep. And God
So
banished him.
he was doing evil things in heaven. He
Yes.
was able to do evil. There's free will in
Right.
heaven.
And I believe that, yeah, I think there's free will in heaven, but we also have hell. We also have purgatory in my beliefs. Not
We have
everybody
free will
believes.
here.
We
So
have
what's the
free will
difference in
here.
heaven between heaven and here? If we have free will here and free will in heaven, what is the difference?
Well, heaven, we don't have the earthly things such as chronic pain and illness and strife and those types of things.
Can we still do evil in heaven? Can we assault people in heaven?
Not without expecting to be kicked out. You can go
See,
live
people
in hell
can
if
get
you
kicked
want.
out of heaven.
Well, Satan was.
Good point. Yeah.
Lucifer,
Oh, good
Satan,
point.
whatever
Yeah.
you call him.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. You
Okay.
can get kicked out.
Gotcha. So there's martial law essentially. You know, if you do
Essentially,
bad, you get
yes,
kicked
but
out.
he's the Alpha and Omega, so he will be here before us and after us.
How is there anybody left in heaven? That's what I want to know. I mean, God sees so many things as evil.
That's
How is there anybody
I
left?
believe that there is, because Jesus died for our sins. So
Hmm.
if you become saved and you believe and you go through the process and you try to live to the best of your ability, then I believe you can make it into heaven.
But if you're
I know
sinful,
some people believe like 144,000 people will make it into heaven and everybody else goes to hell. I believe that 144,000 is a metaphor, so to say, not an actual number. Like 7 is a sign. It's so, yeah. And Earth could be the new kingdom. Who's to
interesting.
say where it's going to be? Both of my parents and all my grandparents have passed away. And I believe that I get signs from especially from my dad, but both my parents, from heaven.
From heaven.
Yeah, I believe my parents are in heaven, and I believe that they are able to send signs. Some of the
Interesting.
could be, hey,
Pebbles. I hope they don't wreck your car.
Well, my dad saw how bad that happened, how bad that was for me. I don't think he'll do that again. But again, I was in an accident in 2002. I was in an accident in about a year ago. And things happen, but the same.
Maybe God's telling you not to drive anymore.
Well, I don't.
Okay, good. See, there you go.
I drive very rarely.
Probably best anyways.
It's safer to have somebody else drive. So
sometimes,
yeah,
well, depends on the person. But yes.
Well,
so you mentioned the new
best driver that I know. That I know.
Good. You mentioned the new world and whatnot.
Yes.
That sparks an interest in the end times. So what do you believe about the end times?
I believe the end times will come, and that anybody who tries to predict when, they're going to be laughed at, because we don't know. As humans, we don't know.
Yeah.
So
even Jesus
anybody can guess. Even Jesus didn't know. Anybody can guess, but until it happens, you will either believe it's going to happen, or you will believe it's not going to happen, and that the people who believe are wrong, or vice versa. So I believe that the end times will come.
That's a lot there, yes.
I believe they'll come. I don't know if it'll be while I'm alive here on Earth, or if I will already be in heaven, but I think they will come.
So you don't know when. Gotcha. Yep. What do you think will happen at that time? No, I don't. Sorry.
I don't. Sorry, I don't believe you know. I don't believe anybody knows.
Yeah.
Any Earth being knows.
Yeah. No, it's but what do you think will happen when this tribulation trials, or the second coming and all that? What do you think will happen?
There will be lots of bad things that happen, and we will be judged, and we will, if you are judged to be continuing on, you will live in the kingdom of heaven for eternity. And again, that could still be here on Earth. That could happen here on Earth. It could be some wormhole galaxy far, far away. And I think when I read the Bible, a lot of times I will even see, like, when they describe the angel coming down from heaven, it sounds like a UFO or a spaceship to me.
My dad says that too. He says that it's going to be.
I watch Ancient Aliens.
UFOs,
I'm like, yes, this could be. You just don't. We don't know, because our languages are different. The original languages of the Bible are different, and so things happen in translation. But I do believe that those are historical texts, and that those things happened.
So going to Revelation, I know it's an interesting book, and there's a lot in there. But what during the end times is what I'm kind of going for here. Is what do you think is going to happen? You talked about the destruction, and specifically, I'm just looking at one here, Revelation 16:21. It talks about 100-pound hail. God's going to send down 100-pound hail. Do you think that's a thing? Do you think that's going to
Well,
happen?
I mean, I've seen some big hail.
Yeah.
I think it could. I think
Yeah.
it could happen. I think even like the sun goes through these solar flares. Like right now, we're in a time of major solar flares, bigger than we've ever measured
Hmm.
in the world. So could he send fireballs? Yeah, I think that he could send fireballs. Could he send 100 pounds of hail? He
Yeah.
could.
Yeah.
I've seen the locusts.
So why would he though? I think
growing
is
up
what I'm
in-
going for here. Is why would he do that?
Why would
Yeah.
God do that? To see what's left standing, to cleanse the earth, to start over. There's evidence that we have started humanity over multiple times. We don't know what came before us.
Right.
We don't-
I
we
think it's the
don't know.
manner in which he's doing it. I have a problem with.
Okay, but he
you
also,
familiar-
like when you look at Nineveh and
Yeah.
you say, okay, the king said, everybody, wear these sacks and repent and do the things that the king said to do to repent for God.
Hmm.
He saved Nineveh. So it can go both ways. And it's so
Right.
Does it have to
it's
be
the
so?
violent manner. It doesn't
Yes.
have to be violent.
Well, I don't know if it has to be, but it was, and it will be.
Right. That's my problem.
So
Revelation
my
16,
brother,
8-9, he wants to scorch people with the sun. We're
Yes.
sending 100-pound hail. We're scorching people with the sun. 16:3,
Yeah,
he's going to
it'll
drown
be-
the sea animals in blood. I mean, what did the fish do? What are the dolphins and all the whales and the little starfish and everything is going to be drowning in blood because
that's
why?
all the things he made in the first 7 days. So
Yeah, but
and
why
and
though?
7 days can be longer than our understanding of 7 days. So
Would you put this into effect? These kinds of
I
retributions?
don't know, because I don't have all the knowledge.
I don't think you would. I really hope you would. But anyhow,
I don't like violence of any kind. However, violence
Good.
does happen, and we have to understand that. And I was just going to say, my brother he's actually he has a degree in master's in theology, and he's actually working on a cartoon called Barely Biblical, and he's living out all the worst scenes in the Bible through bears. So instead of seeing blood and guts and triumph and glory and sacrifice, you're seeing bear stuffing. Makes it a little bit easier to take in, but he's making it for he's
like the one where he
making it-
sends the bears to kill the kids. The bears are killing the bears, and the bears. That'd be interesting.
I think he's on episode 2 or 3.
I'm gonna look
through
that up.
a Christian. It is a really really good thing. I've only seen episode 1. Episode 2 is getting ready to be released. I think he's working on episode 3. But he's an animator also, so he's done a lot of Christian animations. This is just his current project.
I'm looking
I
for an
think it's-
animator. Send it my way.
I will. I think it's fascinating that that he can be that creative and have that talent and that gift to make something like that.
It's very
So,
interesting.
There's good
very
and bad,
interesting.
but you can project bad with good as well. And he does a
soften the
good
blow of the
job at
violence in the Bible.
Yes.
Right.
And help people understand it, because we don't talk about those stories a lot. So I'm glad
Right.
you're bringing it up, because
Yeah.
it does need to be talked about.
Like the one with the assault on women that God sanctioned and stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff like that in the Bible. How do you feel about the Bible in schools?
I'm okay with the Bible in schools. And I believe in America. I believe that America was built on Christian values, and that's part of it. And we as a society got away from it for any number of reasons, including the devil's hand. But I don't mind the Bible in school. I don't mind the 10 Commandments in schools. I don't mind sharing God's light. And I think that God is great.
So how do you feel about other religions putting their holy books in schools as well?
Well, that's on them. I'm not their judge. So
Is that allowed? Do you think okay?
I think it depends. Now, let me just give you this scenario. So I graduated from George Mason University. I failed one class when I was in college, and that class was religion. And I failed because I would not say that Jewish people are bad. That I go in and I say we need to support Israel. We need to support the Jewish people. And my teacher was Muslim, and he failed me in the class because I wouldn't submit to his beliefs. But I wasn't trying to tell him what to believe. I was sharing, this is what I believe.
Interesting.
And I failed the class. And to graduate college, talk about a rock. To graduate college, I had to make up that class that I failed. And I ended up the only class that was available that semester that would qualify for the class I needed was marriage and family. And that same professor was my teacher.
No.
And I went into the class thinking, oh, God, please be with me. Help me through this class, because he already failed me once. And going through the class, he didn't remember me. He didn't remember me from failing me 2 years earlier. He told the whole class that I was very smart and that they should all be studying with me, and that I was going to have a good marriage and family when I grew up, or when I left school and started a family. And I was just shocked that this teacher who failed me for not having the same religious beliefs as him actually now just gave me an A and told the rest of the class that they should be studying with me.
What was the class again?
The first one was religion.
And what was it about? Was it all religions or just?
Well, I thought it was going to be, it was basically like the sociology of religions. Okay. So large groups in religions and how the different groups approach it. But
interesting. So you had a bad teacher, does it sound like?
When it came down to the final exam, I wouldn't stand in front of the class and say that Israel was bad, that Jewish people were bad, although they did kill Jesus. I believe that it again was destined and written, and it was supposed to happen. Bad things happen to good people.
Well, that's true. Bad things happen to everybody, good or bad.
Bad things happen to some bad people sometimes. Happen to bad people. Good things happen to bad people as well. It goes everywhere.
Society got away from it is something you said. Society got away from the Bible or got away from God. Explain that a little.
Moral beliefs. I think that
you need moral beliefs.
As a society, we function best when we believe that raping is bad, killing is bad. Yes. At the same time, now we have, right to die laws, and people can choose when they want their life to be over. Now, is that passion, or is that something that is between that person and God? I think it's between that person and God. And I know enough people in the chronic pain world that have seen.
That's their own decision. Their body, their decision. I don't know. Are they harming anybody else though? At that point, they're just harming themselves. They have a disease that hurts and whatnots. I don't know.
It's not a choice I would make, but I've known enough people to choose that choice.
Would you allow? So you yourself would not choose that to do that. Why would you not allow somebody else to do that?
I would allow.
Okay.
Because I believe that God gave us free will and free choice. And that is the thing that they have to answer to him as to why, and that God might be sending them a different situation than me. It might be more compassionate for them. It's not for me to judge as another human.
So where's the downfall from God there? I think I'm missing the point.
Well,
you said we're separating ourselves from God.
People choose to live their life to the fullest and fulfill their earthly purpose. And I don't know if their earthly purpose has been fulfilled or not when they choose to do this. That's between them and God. But if they haven't, and they chose to end their life because someone was bullying them or something that could have been a bad situation that they were in, yet overcomable in this world.
Are we talking about suicide or assisted suicide?
Both.
Okay, well,
some people choose. Some people
we can leave the
choose
suicide out of it. People have been killing themselves forever. I mean, there's nothing new about that.
I wouldn't do that either. So, but with assisted suicide, when friends of mine first, because I've as a leader of a nonprofit that works with people with chronic pain, I talk to people all over the world, and people make and choose different choices for healthcare, even like what you eat, or you have the same disease as the person next to you, but different treatments work for both of you. So you have to choose what's right for you. So
Yeah.
it showed me that although I'm sad that they chose to take their life and have the assisted suicide, that's not between me and them. That's between them and their God.
So what if they feel that God's asking them to do it?
It could be.
All right.
That's
So where's the moral? I
sadly,
think I'm missing the moral
it's
negative
just
here.
that well, to me, we should be here and be the best we can be in each moment. And so giving up
So
to me
continue on
is
until that last breath, no matter how painful, no matter how distraught they are.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's what I'm doing.
So you want them to suffer? I don't
No.
think that's a good idea.
No, but
So, yeah.
I don't want them to suffer. That's I
Okay.
said it's their choice and their decision. I've chosen
Mhm.
that when I'm going through the pain and I'm like, I could die in this minute, to take another breath, to say, God be with me, to have hope and even the smallest glimmer of hope. And I've made it through. I can't ask everybody on earth to do that. That's not my place to ask everybody on earth to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm still
But
missing with
as
that
a
separateness
human,
from
I
God, but I
want
want to get
people
past it now, though.
as
Go ahead.
humans,
Finish
I
this and
want people
we'll
to
pass
live.
on.
As a human, I want other people to live their life to their fullest.
Same.
That's the moral of it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
although
I feel the
someone
same.
else might go,
Agree.
it's compassion, let them die. I would say, you don't know what you could have done tomorrow if you ended it yourself today.
Exactly. It brings you back to the movie The Mist. It's a horrible, horrible movie. At the end there, they just kill each other, and the last one to kill himself, all of a sudden they get saved. And it's like, oh, well, I just went through all that, and I was just about to be saved. So, I mean, yeah, there's always that cure that could be there tomorrow and whatnot. I mean, it's all subjective. Whatever you want to do, whatever you feel you can handle. I mean, that's all you. And I
Yes.
feel, I don't know. I don't know, see the moral negative in that, but we can agree to disagree on that. Can
Okay.
you give me another example of a moral negative that's happening because God is being, I don't know, we're separating ourselves from him, or he's separating from us, or I never got that detail how that works.
Yeah, I try to keep negative out of my life, and that's
No, yeah.
impossible.
What's
I
causing the
work
negative
to.
morality? What specifically is the negative morality that you're seeing that is separating us from God?
Well, I think it's different for every human. So,
Well, let's talk about the assault. We talked about, you said the assault is a negative thing on society.
Yes.
It's a negative morality thing. Do you think
Yes.
it has ticked up or gotten worse?
I do. Yeah, I think that it has, and I think that it. But how people look at, like, some people say, like, oh, coming over the border as an illegal into somebody else's country and occupying someone else's country, which we have borders. We, just like God gave us the ability to have words and we could choose our words as humans. I think that we have our borders and we have our earthly laws. Some people choose not to follow the earthly laws. So just like coming over a border illegally, like I was born in Bangkok, Thailand, I had to come to America legally. I think that other people should be able to do things legally, but because they come in and they start off on an illegal act or immoral act, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
I think those types of situations we're getting away from things that I wouldn't do.
Right. So back to
So
the
like
assault
in
thing.
Washington State, when I was coaching in Washington State, we would have illegals come in back in the late 90s, 2000s. We would have illegals come in, and after harvest season was done, we would let them get the jobs and work, and harvest season was done, and then the government would come in with buses and ship them all back to Mexico. But they could be here. We're not looking for these 4 months while we want to use their help, instead of making a moral, legal, possible way.
I wonder if there's things hindering them from doing that, Maybe we should remove the hinders and help them get in a little bit easier.
So, but I see a lot of people since the beginning of our country, all the people coming in from other countries, including myself, including my sister, we did it the right way. There is the ability to do it the right way. And is it easy? No. There's steps to be followed, and that helps society be better. But I'm seeing a degrading of that. I'm seeing people come in and they come in through Mexico, or they come in through Canada, and they start off on a negative and breaking laws. So anything they do after that is negative because they're already on a sand foundation. They already started with a crime.
And the people that
That's
live in
what
a
I mean by-
neighborhood and go to another neighborhood and do crime, they're just, you know, people from
Right.
another neighborhood doing crime. It's just people doing crime is all I see here. I think it's weird to do all that. He's from another country and he's doing crime. It's just a person doing crime.
No,
But that's what I want to talk about is the crime.
because we have
Is God
so much
causing the
coming
crime
in. We have
because we're
crime.
separating ourselves from him? Is that what's
No,
happening?
people have free will. God gave us free will.
But God throws
So
boulders.
people are choosing to do that. That's in my life. I don't know if he talks to everybody else the same way, but in my life, God, I don't go around trying to break laws and trying to.
No, but
break
God
crimes. If I don't like a
throws
law,
people in your
if
way
I don't
that
like
do
a
break
law,
laws.
I would go and I would work to do the steps to get a new law passed while I'm still following the old law. Does that make sense? So I'm not trying to go out and create crime or let other people create crime on me or perpetrate crime on me or other people.
Right, but God's perpetrating all of this to his effect, to his purpose, correct?
No, we have free choice and free will, and that comes with consequences and responsibilities.
Right, but it also comes with
so
boulders.
God wasn't like,
we're back to the circle there, but that's okay.
no, God
Finish your thought.
God doesn't say this is how you be a cheerleader. God said, Barbie, you're going to be a cheerleader. I did all of the work to make it happen. And sorry.
You're good. You're good.
It says my signal's good, but I did the work. I did the work to get to be, I am saying internet connection is unstable.
Oh.
It could be God.
Get those pebbles out of there. They don't belong.
Yes,
right?
or it could be my dad. My dad comes through electricity. So, but it's my choice to choose what I do with the negative that happened. I had a, tragic incident happen, multiple tragic incidents happen in my life. I'm not mad at God for those things happening because he allowed those things to happen. I try to internalize it and turn it back and say, what could I do to make it better? What could I do to move forward? What can I do to be the best human I can be?
Why don't you question the guy throwing boulders if maybe he could just talk to you or show up or send you a letter? A voicemail, something besides a car accident.
Circle back to the blind faith.
Assault.
Circle back to the blind.
But why is that good?
But yes,
why is that
the guy
who
committed assault on me, should be punished. Anybody who breaks the earthly laws should be punished.
Yeah.
And it's
nobody's questioning that. Yeah,
okay.
No, I'm questioning the guy who set it all up, the guy who put it into motion, the guy who set the scene and then paid the actors.
And then allowed us to make the choices and then have responsibility and consequences for the action.
What about his responsibility, though? That's what I'm asking. What about his responsibility? Can we point responsibility towards him for any of the bad things?
I think he is the Alpha and Omega. I don't think that I'm really thinking this through, but I believe that he has the ultimate choice. And yes, he's given me miracles in my life, and I've seen other people receive miracles, and now I expect miracles. And I think that God can be a gracious and great God. I believe he is a great God. And I believe that bad things happen. So it's not God going, oh, rape her today or kill that person today or all the bad things in the world on this person or that person. I believe that is the consequences of the free will that he gave us, and that we have choices. And again, sometimes, like I said, pebbles come, or if you're not paying attention, rocks come, and it will
Or
put you on,
floods.
or floods, or locusts, or birds falling out of the sky, or whatever, fire from the sun, whatever
Locusts.
it is, or what?
The locusts, yeah. I mean, that's
But
an
the
interesting one
locusts,
too.
yeah.
What do you think
growing
about
up,
that
I was
scenario?
like, oh my gosh, in the Bible it says locusts, they're gonna swarm. And if you're ever on the East Coast when the
Yeah.
locusts swarm like every 18 years, you go,
Hmm.
what the is this?
Yeah.
Are we in the end times? It's
Yeah, I'm specifically
on
talking
locusts.
about the last one he did there. That last one, where he went in and killed the kids in their sleep because their parents didn't put the blood in the door.
Yeah.
That specifically. So God came down and killed kids in the middle of the night while they were sleeping. How do you feel about that?
I think that there can be punishments just like there can be celebrations, and that there's a purpose and a reason. And we don't, just like when I saw my life flash before me, we don't always know the purpose and the reason, but it might have made way for something else to happen, like flooding the earth. It makes way to start over and have a renewed
So this was
sense.
all part of the plan.
Yeah, I think that we are living in God's plan. How we get there, you might say, I want to accomplish this goal, and there's 2 million ways to get to accomplish that goal. So things are going to happen, and it's going to ripple effect into what happens, and individually and as a society. But I believe that in the end, God's will and God's plan will happen. So when I pray for God's will to happen. Even if it's different, like if
even if it's killing children, drowning puppies and kittens, how do you feel? Like, how does that?
Well, I wouldn't.
You have to feel something there. I mean,
yeah, I wouldn't do those things.
Right,
so
but
that's my
as
own
a
personal
being
decision.
who wouldn't do those things and would not do those things because it's harmful to other people, worships a guy that does that. Not only does it, but had a plan to do that, created these people just so that they could be drowned at that point. That's what I'm seeing there.
Well, I'm saying it's the person who creates the act of harm.
Yeah.
That has the problem. They should choose to be better and do different.
Drowning puppies, kittens, and babies is an act of harm, and God
in my
caused
opinion.
it. Yeah.
And no, God didn't cause it. God gave us free will as humans.
Did we open the doors to the rain to come down? Or did God open the doors? Did we kill the children in the sleep, or did God come down and kill the children in their sleep?
I believe it was actually the spirit, but yes.
God. I mean,
that was God.
Yeah. God
but it was
kills kids in their sleep because they don't have blood on their doors.
But it was consequences.
Because they didn't have blood on their doors.
There was warning.
That seems really terrible.
Again, I follow the law until I am able to change the law. And the earthly laws are different than the heavenly laws. So here on earth, I have the ability to say this is a good law or a bad law.
Right.
And work on it. I don't have the ability to change God's laws. And I'm not trying to change God's laws.
No. I'm curious what you think of God's laws, though.
Well, I think God's laws are the 10 Commandments. And I think that if we as humans chose to follow them, and all of us chose, that a lot of the consequences and strife and retribution and all of the bad things could be better, could be eradicated. But all humans get to choose on their own. I can't choose for somebody else, just like they can't choose for me.
Right. But God can choose. And his rules, he's got that Sabbath day holy thing, which is an interesting one. Do you remember the punishment for not keeping the Sabbath day holy?
I believe that a lot of those types of laws that are in the Old Testament are for the holy people of that time.
The perfect, righteous, holy, and good, God calls them. Yeah.
But I don't believe that those were for all the people on earth.
Oh.
I believe
do you think they were
for the holy leaders.
Do you think they were good laws, though?
I wasn't alive in that time to see what the holy leaders were trying to do. So I don't know. All I know is those laws were not, the 10 Commandments are our laws.
These are not something you would put into effect, is what we're saying here.
Well, I don't know, because I'm not the supreme being. So I don't have the full picture.
You
of
are a
everything.
being that has an opinion, and I am curious what it is. Would you, Barbie,
Would
put
I
these
say
into
mark
effect?
your window, the doorway to your home with the blood of a lamb, so that your child doesn't die?
Mm-hmm. Would you put people to death for doing stuff on the Sabbath?
No, that's not all people. That if you go back and read the
Would you put
Old
anybody
Testament,
to death for not
I believe in the death penalty.
keeping the Sabbath holy? But would you enact it for such a thing?
Well,
It's an easy question. The answer is no. It's so easy, Barbie. I got it. I'm gonna say no. Okay, there you go. Barbie said no.
okay. I don't have all the parts thought through yet, so I don't know if I would make that decision in those days. Here now in this time, the answer would be no. Back then,
why would you question making it in those days? Why would it be a good idea in those days?
Remember I said
what would be
things are
one good
getting
reason?
worse?
Sorry, go ahead.
So that things don't continue to get worse.
Killing people because they don't worship God on Sunday or do work on Sunday.
That's
makes
not all the
things
people.
work.
It's
It's
not
those
all
people.
the people. It's
Those
those
people.
people.
Let's say it's those people. Okay, so it's
It's
I'm
those
okay with
people
that.
who
I
swore
understand. I
to.
still have a problem with it though.
It's those people who swore to be the living word of God and to be his example here on earth. So if they're
So
not,
die if you decide to work on a Sunday because you chose to be the living word of God. So now this is a good decision for you to die. I don't see that as a good thing. I don't see it.
do you know how many people did die because of that law?
Because of all these laws. There's a lot of
All that
laws here.
rules.
Stoning disobedient children is another one. I think everybody would be dead. How many dead teenagers would be in the street? Oh my gosh. We don't. These are terrible laws. And Barbie, I really hope you wouldn't instate these.
I would not state these, that we live in a different time.
Okay.
And I believe that the laws that you're referring to are for a specific select.
Other people. Right. But I'm just asking if they're good laws. I understand they're for other people. I just don't see the good in it. I see it's grotesque.
Well, here's the thing though, the person
violent.
that joined the group, it's like joining a fraternity, kind of. I mean, a different level, right?
A secret society.
A secret society, Illuminati or whoever. And you agree to these rules when you go in. That's your rules.
But those are God's rules. Those aren't just the society's rules. These are God's rules.
Don't go into that if you're not going to follow that. You can still follow God and you can still be a believer and you can still be someone who is able to go into heaven without being the leader that's following all of these things that you agreed to follow.
All right. Thank you for that, Barbie. That was fun.
You can kill somebody and still go to heaven.
Well, there's a lot.
In my opinion. We'll see when we get there who's right and who's wrong. I don't know.
I don't know. It's still my favorite answer. Prayer. I wanted to we're kind of getting low on time here, but I want to end on prayer. What do you think prayer does, first off?
Prayer is a way that I get to talk to God and share my hopes and desires. But again, for my prayer, I believe that it's really building my hope. And
explain that.
So back to my situation, when I was laying in bed and feeling like I could die anytime and my heart would just give out, I would pray, God, I know I'm made for more. I know that you have given me talents and gifts that I should be here on earth. And if I do have the ability to get through this challenge that I'm facing, I will have the hope that I am able to share your light in the things that I do for society and humanity moving forward. So that's how my prayers are.
Did you think at that time that he didn't know that already?
It doesn't matter if you know it. Sometimes you need reminders. So when I had to learn the alphabet, I needed reminders. And
You
so
need to remind God.
no, I need to
Oh.
remind myself.
Oh, okay.
And I need to
So
show
the prayer was
reverence
for yourself, essentially, because
and
God
show
already knows the
reverence to
need.
God. Yes.
So
God
he already
only knows
knows.
what you're going through.
Yeah, he already knows it.
Right?
No need to ask him. So it's for yourself. It's to
I'm
make
saying,
you
God,
feel better.
I know you're the supreme, and I know that you're my king, and I know that your will needs to be done. Please help me through this challenging time. Please help me get through it so that I can live my life to the fullest, so that I am able to do what I'm supposed to do here on earth while I'm here on earth.
And then
so
he's like, oh, I totally, yes, I should be doing that. I'm so sorry. What was I thinking?
he does, but he doesn't always take away the challenge.
Oh,
He's there with me or carrying me in
that's
the challenge.
interesting. That's
in the
not
challenge.
physically carrying you.
No, spiritually.
Okay, all right.
Spiritually.
Oh, that's even weirder. How's that work? He's spiritually carrying you.
Yes.
Like your ghosts, he's carrying
So I'm
he's
making
lifting
it
your
through.
spirits.
Yeah,
He's
that's
making you
hope.
happier.
No, happier.
Oh.
Not necessarily happier.
Feel better. He's lifting your spirits by making you feel better.
No, I'm still going through the challenge, but I have hope that I will make it through because of my belief in God.
Which
And
helps you feel better.
hopefully, eventually, but not every time.
You feel better about the situation, and you're
You feel
more
better
hopeful.
about the situation.
Yeah.
I'm more hopeful because I have hope.
Right.
And I believe that humanity is equipped with hope.
Talking things out really does help, honestly.
It does.
No matter who you're talking to,
but my
hashing
prayer,
things out, saying
my
these are my
prayer
needs,
is to
this is my
say,
desires, 100%.
God, you are great.
But
God, can you help me through this challenge situation, whatever it is I'm facing? And then saying,
he says no.
and sometimes he says no. And sometimes it was meant to be so that looking back in the moment.
Let's not go. Don't go back to the meant to be's. That's gonna upset me again.
Okay.
But
Sorry,
go ahead and
I don't want
finish.
to upset you. I'm just saying from my experience, when I've looked back, I said I wouldn't be in this spot to have this miracle and this positive celebration if I didn't go through that horrible, horrible, challenging time. I would
think
have
it's
been on a
grotesque
different
that
trajectory.
I think it's grotesque that this being has to put you through these trials to teach you these lessons. I think that's horrible, and it hurts me that you think that's okay. It sucks. I don't know.
It's humanity. It's life.
Yeah, that is humanity and that is life, but there's difference when we add the whole.
So who do you think gives us the bads? The devil?
Who gives us the bads?
Yeah, the challenges in life. The things that are whatever it is that challenges you in life.
People. I think people do it. Sometimes my animals. My dogs
will.
can be challenging at times. I still love them. But
Yes.
things like that. That's just natural. I live in Vegas. The drivers here are absolutely horrible. That's a challenge getting back and forth to work every day. But I think it's just people being people. I think it's just a natural thing. I don't see the supernatural in it because the natural explains it just fine.
Yeah. Well, I've seen enough supernatural to believe. And so I have no doubt, but I understand that there are probably at least 1 trillion people here on Earth or in.
There's a lot. It's a big number. Lots of zeros.
And lots of zeros. I think that there is so I should have said billion, but I said trillion.
It's okay.
But I think that there is a lot of people who don't believe, who see things as you see them, or some variation or scale of it. And it's not up to me to teach you that. I know this is what I've been through, and I feel confident in knowing that there is a God and that I have a relationship with him, and that's okay with me, that not everybody does.
Well, I'm glad you're okay with that.
Again,
because you know what? It's okay
with me being a believer.
It's okay to not believe, and it's okay to believe. It's
Absolutely.
perfectly fine, and we can have those
Absolutely.
conversations and hash out the differences. And yeah, awesome. So we're out of time here. This has been a blast. Thank you so much. Plug your book, your representative page, anything you want. Go ahead.
I
And last words.
If you want to check me out, if you live with chronic pain, you can go to internationalpain.org and get information on over 160 different conditions that involve chronic pain and different tools, tips, and tricks to overcome some of those challenges and situations. Some might work for you, some might not. If you want to check me out on a political level, you can go to my website, barbyingle.com. And if you want to go to see me on a fun, different level with my husband, you can go to kenandbarbie.com. And yes, we're Ken and Barbie, and I believe that God brought me Ken.
Oh, that's hilarious. Awesome. Thank you, Barbie. This has been a blast. We'll stay in touch. I'll have you back.
Awesome.
Have a good evening. I lost my train of thought there.
You too. Take
Talk to
care.
you later. Bye. That's all the show there is for you today. Thanks for listening. As always, you can find me at the Bible Says What YouTube and Facebook pages. You can also find clips of the show on TikTok under BSW the Podcast. If you like what you heard and want to help keep the recording light on, simply go to patreon.com/BSW the Podcast and sign up to be a supporter of the show. Your episodic tithes of $1 or more will get you early access to each episode by at least 3 days, stickers, shirts, and shoutouts. That's patreon.com/BSW the Podcast. For the latest events, BSW swag, including signed copies of The Bible Says What the book, head on over to the show's ever-evolving webpage at thebiblesayswhat.com. And no matter which platform you use to listen to your podcasts, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss out on the next episode. Until then, would you kindly pick up your Bibles and read them? Next time on The Bible Says What?
And I'm at a place now where I would consider myself a spiritual atheist. I don't believe that there is a God per se, but I do believe that there is something that connects us, but it's just not connected to a God or organized religion or organized church. And as humans, we have a tendency to want to deify things. And so that's kind of where we end up.
We definitely anthropomorphize things for sure. So the spiritual atheist, man, that is amazing. I've never heard that word before. I love it. So how do you get the spiritual part? That's the problem I have. See, I'll do the atheist, I'll do the agnostic part, but when we add that spiritual part, that's where I lose it. I don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me. So can you make that spiritual side make sense to me?
I'm going to give it a try.
Yeah.